Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today we're going to get in touch with Mother Nature, not too closely I hope, by making a start on our double botanical gardens build. Lovely! This set is beautiful, maybe one of the most beautiful sets LEGO's done in recent years. I mean, it is a monument, a church, a cathedral almost to Mother Nature herself, with these beautiful white pillars and the sand green windows, capped with this lovely glass dome. But the real feature is all of the plants on the outside and the inside, just drawing your eye. All that colour, all of those shapes, wonderful, wonderful. So when I first saw this set, 41757, the Botanical Garden from 2023, I immediately ignored all of the mini dolls on the outside that were kind of spoiling the view and focused on that lovely building and thought probably the same thing that absolutely everyone else who saw it then thought. Wouldn't it be great if we had two of these back to back to kind of complete this glass dome and enclose the open sides, and then it'd be a real feature of any city. Now probably everyone who wants to has done that already, and I'm bringing up the rear, finally getting around to doing mine a year or so later. Now, I have heard people say that there's no point doing this double botanical garden now, given the fact that LEGO will be producing an even bigger, better one as a result of the LEGO Ideas submission in December 22 by Gowanus89, which does look absolutely amazing. A LEGO version of the real-life Kew Gardens, covered in Lego eggs all over the top. I counted 21, which is quite a number, but I never thought Lego would actually choose that as one of the winning submissions, partially because, well, we already had this at about the same time, so it's kind of really bad timing by Gowanus89. But I suppose this was very successful, a set, very popular indeed, so maybe they thought they could do a Lego one, or just a sort of generic one that wasn't minifigure based, that ties in with all of the plants that they've been doing, all of the botanical sort of range. So I guess it does make sense. But that one is very big, based on 1.5 base plates. So though it's sort of more realistic and has sort of lift-offable sections so you can get at all the plants, I think it looks quite fiddly. You're going to be knocking over all the trees and so on, trying to place the minifigs and so on, and then putting those lids back on, knocking off branches. I don't know. That could be a pain. We'll wait and see. But it's so fabulous, and places like Kew have so many glass houses that I think doing one doesn't exclude using another in the future. So I'm definitely going to press ahead. And I think that this solid glass round dome is brilliant in itself. And we've got the cross section, of course, of having this kind of long arm pulling off it and this short arm as well, which does, in my mind, also make it look like a church. You can even imagine it sort of being mirrored here, and this being the transept, and up here being the altar and all the rest of it, if you know your way around a church. So I guess that's why I was thinking that this was a church to Mother Nature. But the inside of this thing is absolutely packed and stacked, with the lovely succulents and cacti room over here, the tropical tree with its lovely flowers all visible through that glass top. Very important to use the height, I think, with the butterflies right on the very top of that. Then we've got the best exotic sort of internal plants, being these lovely selection of blooms with the things like the saxophone pieces being used, the punk hairdo and so on, and some shoulder pads, wonderful parts use, and then a few more hanging from above, only visible through the glass. I think that's a really good use of space again. Then we've got the bonsai tree on the outside, these really big blooms, some smaller ones, and then probably my favourite, the waterfall fed duck pond with all of the water lilies, of course, with those lily pads and the lovely blooms there as well. Very nice indeed. And then the brightest tree of all on the outside, dropping its lovely blossom, making this an amazing set. So what are we going to do? Well, the first thing to note is if you do buy two of these sets, it's not as simple as that. Yes, you get the 4 dome pieces you need, but you only get one of these in each set, these sort of curved glass pieces. So you technically need 4 of those for the top floor, and even then you'd have 4 doorways, so you'd have to do something about it on the bottom. And also, this section here has 3 sides, which could be duplicated over here, but this one only has 2 sides, so you'd end up with 2 open walls. So you definitely need quite a few more bricks if you're going to enclose this thing. And for the structure as well, you're probably going to need a few more of these, which are available on Bricks and Pieces. These are the 80015 plate 5x5 round corner with 4x4 cutout. Very catchy title there. And as I said, a lot of these curved round pieces for the glass as well. So yeah, lots of things to consider. But I think the biggest thing in my particular instance is, where is this going to go? So I have to make sure it fits that. So I say we go quickly up to the Lego room and check out the available space, and that'll probably dictate, well, exactly the orientation of what we're doing. Well, Brick Nottingham is fairly full, as you'll know. Rather an understatement. But there is one area that is completely undeveloped and needs filling before we move to Brick Nottingham 2.0, and that is this corner over here. And I think our botanical garden is absolutely perfect for the near side of this road, partially on account of the fact that it is enclosed. So we can look at it from absolutely every angle and not see sort of an ugly open rear side. So I want to put it on here, and where exactly along this road it goes isn't particularly important at the moment because, well, it's got nothing to compete with. So I can sort of try it here, then try it halfway along, try it at the full end. But anyway, it will definitely be based on a combination of these 8x16 base plates and a row of these 16 by 32 ones as well. So effectively, I think it's going to have to go on a footprint, kind of like this, except, well, we don't want to have it with neighbours right up to those glass walls and so on. So I think I'm going to be generous and give it kind of a 1.5 base plate width with 3 of these 8x16s as well. And then we've still got space along the edge of the road base plate for a 6 wide pavement. So yeah, I think I'm going to have a combination of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little base plates making up the footprint for this, and then we can decide whether it's exactly there, which I'm kind of tempted, opposite the road from the museum, so it's very cultural, and then with these 3 minis of the Italian job leaping out of that subway, burning straight past the door of it and scaring the patrons. I think that'll be really good. And then maybe we'll have room on these 2 quarter base plates, I suppose, for some more trees or just something that links that scene with the bus station over there. Yeah, I think that'll work rather well. So I'm going to pull up these base plates so we've got something to work on, and then I can build up from there. Good, good. Well, we know where it's now going to go. But what will fit in the available space? I think that is the next question. So I've basically done this little mock-up just to show you what I'm considering, with this bit representing the dome, the longer arm being this kind of wing here, and the shorter bit sticking out being this, with the waterfall represented by this nice colourful brick here. And a simple doubling of the set could be to make it like a church, as we mentioned earlier, with all of the features replicated on the mirror side. And I think that could look really nice. Very symmetrical indeed, quite pleasing to the eye, and very much like that real one in Q. But then I was thinking another idea might be to make it kind of asymmetrical and maybe have it with the 2 short arms together and the 2 longer arms together. Looks very interesting, that. And then you've got quite a big square here for maybe this tree, and another one with some seating underneath or something like that. And then maybe you could move the waterfall off the end wall of each of these sticks and maybe have them kind of going off the sides together into a shared pool or something like that. Or maybe have 2 different pools, one along this long side and one along this long side. That could work very well as well. But then, well, when you apply any of that to this base plate configuration, you see that you really have quite a problem of fitting it in. It really needs quite a massive space, because if I just put it sort of side end on and look at the depth that we've got to play with and think, well, even if we got rid of the entire duck pond off the front, then essentially we can't even mirror the 2 short arms on the front and back, because, well, it'll overhang essentially. So in my analogy here, I think I'm going to have to go without one of these in its entirety. So we'll only have 3 arms, and then I can't have a long arm in either direction on the depth. So essentially I'm going to have those opposite each other like that. So then I've got the option of either having the short arm on the back and kind of having it like that with a standing hole here and the pavement over here, or having it like that. And Well, I've got to fit in some waterfalls and some duck ponds somewhere, so I thought I'd do it this way and have dual duck ponds with a double waterfall on kind of each side, fed by a single fountain, so just that bit there, and then a duck pond here and a duck pond here, with the entrance on the more boring flat side with the benches and the trees and so on, kind of lining the road. So that is the profile that I'm going to do. Much out of necessity, really, but you know, I quite like the idea as well. So that means that essentially we're going to be chopping this bit off the front of this one, duplicating this from a second donor set onto here, obviously adding backs onto both of those, and then completely redesigning the duck ponds to fit both here, and then linking it up with a double waterfall on the back. To the little fountain on the little roof bit over here, completing the dome and then filling it with plants. And yeah, that's all. So yeah, quite a lot to do actually. And it also strikes me at this point that when I've basically added another wing on here and we've just got the small wing on the back, that we won't have gained a huge amount of real estate really. Essentially that tree is actually going to have to probably move in a bit to accommodate the rest of the dome, and we'll just have one more sort of section of plants. Now with two sets we'll have plenty of duplicates, but I don't think we want to do that. So that is when I'm going to start getting some probably Robin Hood Brick's own plants in there, using some interesting pieces from interesting hauls. And I definitely want to get my carnivorous plant in there, because I reckon he'll look fabulous, especially if he's visible through the glass roof. So that is definitely a plan of mine. Anyway, let's get started by putting down a floor plan, a more accurate version of this on these base plates, and then we can start to build it up in the style of the old set, but with a few amendments, of course. Well, all right, here is our floor plan. Never my favourite task, doing loads of tiles and plates just to make the very bottom level of a build, but it is necessary, much like a giant modular. We've got everything laid out where it's going to be. So just to orientate you, this is going to be the street side with two diagonal doors, one in, one out. On the front there, then we've got our two main wings of the building, our dome right in the middle there, and then some paths down the side, up to some steps, and then our two gardens being fed by the double waterfall right there at the back centre. So that's what we're going to be doing. So that is basically like that, using our old model with two little ponds, one on either side. So you get the idea now. You'll also notice there's a couple of plates missing here in the tan colour that makes up the flooring of the inside. And that's because those parts are still part of my original set build of the Botanical Gardens, because I tried to use absolutely as many parts as I could from this donor set and its twin, which I never bothered building, apart from the odd sort of tree build and so on, that's all waiting to be used. And that's just so I could keep my costs down to an absolute minimum, because I still needed quite a few more, which I got as part of this brick order here. Loads more green windows and kind of curved tiles mainly, and a few more of the different coloured pieces, and well, a couple more that I'll go through that aren't for this build on this week's haul. But anyway, there we go. So I figure I'm actually going to start at the back of this thing and get our two duck ponds going, because I think that's going to be some of the most tricky build to do actually, because it's all studs on the side with trans clear panel pieces and trans clear or trans light blue bricks all on the side, kind of creating a very nice still calm surface with lots of connection points for the lily pads and the lily flowers, of course. So I need to do two of those, and I want to make them different. I want to have, well, one filling up most of the area and then one with a much more interesting shape, probably with a tree or a bench like the original in a way. So yeah, that's what I'm going to focus on first. So I'm probably going to strip off the two remaining plates off that set, put the foundation down for that middle back section that's going to be a double waterfall, and then we can build those two lakes. So let's get on with that. Oh, right, one stage further on, and it is getting tricky already. I'm absolutely surrounded by parts. It's difficult finding the right ones at any time. But essentially, I've got the outlines of my two ponds. Essentially, this one's going to be the smaller one. It's not going to be a complete square. It's going to have sort of contouring around the top, but it's easier to use it square on the bottom level, and that's got more of a space over here for something on the ground level, which will be raised in this bright green. This one's the bigger pool, with just a smaller area, just enough size for a bench. And I've actually done these in different orientations. Essentially, I've got this one with studs on the side at the top, with all of the panels and bricks that make up these sections sort of going down in strips. And this one, I've got it on the left-hand side with the strips going off to the right, because from the original build, I've got this sort of section with some ducks on, for example. Here's a great big section with some lily pads on, and it's basically combinations of bricks and headlight bricks and panels that kind of get stuck on studs on the side. And because of the lengths of bricks being used on their side like this, and the orientation of bricks being used the right way up in this one, not every combination works. And also, I don't have all of the studs on the side bricks in these colours to go along a long edge like this. So there are different orientations. Now, I did consider having these ponds acting as a facade, because this is the very edge of the standing hole, and maybe they'd continue on ... be the beginning of, well, a pool that maybe joins together around the end of this thing. But essentially, I couldn't really do that because, well, it doesn't look that good when we've got panels sort of hanging in midair with gaps underneath. It almost looks like there's a huge bubble underwater or something. And then there might be another sort of very slim gap in between the plate and the bottom of that blue level. So it doesn't really look very good. So I've abandoned that and given it a firm edge. You'll also see on the inside, I've got not just the koi carp that come with this set, but also some other ones I've got on bricks and pieces, these sort of bigger goldfish tiles for the fish swimming underneath. They came in some of the Chinese New Year sets, and I got them on bricks and pieces a while back. So that's augmented them as well. So we've got 6 fish now rather than 2 + 2 = 4. So that's very good. In the middle there, we've got the beginnings of one of the beds for the plants. I haven't decided what plant's going where yet, so I'll just leave that as an outline for now in that sort of ghastly coral colour that doesn't quite work, in my opinion, but it's in the rest of the set, so I'll keep it. So yeah, I think that's looking good. And I've started to think about the plants even, and was hooking out some pieces. And I rediscovered my huge Duplo palm piece. So that would be a palm tree in Duplo land. I was thinking of using it as sort of the leaves of a carnivorous plant or something, but it's just going to be far too big for this botanical garden anyway. So maybe it'll go back in the pile for under the sea. Anyway, I thought I'd re-show you that just in case you were building a really big one. So yeah, I'm going to put some step setups like in the original on each of these ends over here. And this is the way that you're going to get up into those gardens coming down the side passages, and I think that will look really good. Right, so I'm going to get all these panels sorted so it looks lovely and flat, and hopefully I've got the geometry right. Well, I very much hope that constructing the building is a lot quicker than constructing these pools. They are an absolute nightmare to get right, with all the geometry to fit in that studs on the side, but also lining up one of these large panels every time you've got a fish, and then tessellating every other part together with a headlight brick wherever you want a lily flower or a lily pad or a duck, and then using the remaining pieces to fill in the gaps. And sometimes when the tan border will leave a little corner showing, you need to use a green piece as well. So yeah, an absolute nightmare, but that now should fit perfectly in there, meaning we've got one pond with top to bottom studs on the side and 3 fish, and one with left to right studs on the side. Very nice indeed. So as I say, we'll have a lot more of this tan border around and make it look a lot more natural rather than with all these right angles. We'll also be adding the lily flowers, the lily pads, and the lovely ducks in this lovely dark orange colour. And Lego are slowly taking my advice of adding a lot more colours and patterns of birds. We've got a few different ducks now and a few normal birds, but I still want robins and I still want blackbirds and thrushes and stuff like that. So keep going, Lego, please. And then I'm using these pieces to kind of bring in the curve for that central round section where we're going to have our tree in the middle. So those parts have been really useful recently. And then we're going to have obviously the 2 waterfalls being fed by that central fountain. So I think it's going to look really good. So yeah, I'll get on with the decor and then we can hopefully finally start on the building. Oh, that is lovely, isn't it? So I definitely need to have a minifigure next to this park bench, feeding the ducks. I very much like that scene. I've kept them all on one side just to make them a little bit different, because otherwise they've just got the same sort of plants and so on. I suppose I could change the flower colour, but I really like that colour combination. It's quite true to life and it really pops. So we've got the two pools being fed by the two waterfalls. So really I just need to do the bit in the middle next. So I'm just following the pattern of the original build, well, the style anyway. I've kind of changed a few things here and there, but largely speaking it's following the same sort of theme. And we need to encapsulate both of these waterfalls so we can have the pool on the top feeding them. Must be a pump room somewhere, I suppose. And these are really good pieces, good use of pieces here. This sort of wheel arch is the bit that's letting the water out. I think that's a really good feature. All of these real life buildings were done in the Victorian age, it seems. They just seem to have amazing engineering and skill, and they didn't skimp on making it look very nice as well at the same time. So everything looks very, very grand and fantastic, as this will when it is done. So I'm going to put a modified brick on there, and then we can add the decor. Because the one thing about this is, when it's finished, virtually every single stud is covered with nice tiles, and it looks fantastic as a result, because you've got that kind of difference in the profile every time, just by subtle amounts, whether it be stepped up or stepped down, just by a little bit more each time. So I'm going to add a jumper right on the top there so I can add a bit of decor. This wasn't on the original set, a heart tile, but I had a few from, well, it must have been another friend's set. I think it might have been that theatre actually, but that looks really nice. And I'll just put the arch on some rounded pillars. So I'm going to have the rounded pillars all around the inside of the kind of tree atrium with these arches. And I'm just having that brick on there to hold the roof on for this section. Get that in, won't seem to attach, there we go. And then just cannibalize from the original set with this sort of pink band. Oh, I think that needs to go in one actually. Yeah, with this pink band I've got the fountain at the top. So that needs to go onto there. And then we've got our little white bird decor on there as well. There we go. So there is our end. We'll have to fill it with a plant in due course, but you can see that that is a little plant room. Maybe that's the hothouse for the cacti or something like that, but we should be able to see straight into that room from the standing hole, and obviously these bright scenes as well. So I think that was quite a good choice actually for the orientation. Yeah, really nice. I don't think we want to put our carnivorous plant in there because, well, you won't see him as well as you will when you've got the clear roof sections. And where's Robin gone? Can't see him. Anyway, yeah, I think that looks really good. Like the bench there. I think we've got time to do something on this that will be a bit more significant than just a bench from the original set, though I do like its sort of ornate build with the snake pieces and so on, because, well, I'm fast running out of time. This has taken a surprising amount of effort. So, yeah, we'll have to do the build main section as part 2. But, yeah, let's do some pebble cobblestone type action here, and then maybe I'm thinking a sort of oriental garden temple. Phew, well, we clearly need to do a part 2, but at least part 1 is looking rather lovely if you ask me. I've got this tiny little pagoda sort of style temple with these bendy roof pieces that I got in a kind of VIP add-on bag when I did an order. So you'd go up the steps, walk over the cobbles, through the little pagoda to look at the tranquil water lilies, and on the other side all the quacking that's going on, I don't know, it's because somebody's feeding the ducks with loads of torn up pieces of bread and they're gobbling it down faster than it's getting thrown down. So yeah, there's none on the surface, and I'm glad we can still see the fish through all of those gaps. If you really look, that really does give this build some depth, so I'm very happy with that. We've got our double waterfall going either side of the hothouse, being fed from above, of course. Pump room all completely hidden. Those Victorians, they knew what they were doing, and yeah, I think it looks really good. I'll just show you the other side. So this will be the atrium, and this pattern will go all the way around. We'll have the two doors on these corners, of course, but we'll have these pillars repeating and these arches repeating and so on. So that'll be really nice. And then this gap will all be hidden by the building taking on. But I think it's really nice that we've got this step kind of entrance into the back on each side using all those pieces from the original set. So I think it'll look great from this angle, but I know for certain that it already looks great from this angle, which is the standing hole view, of course. So I'm very happy with that. I think this red really pops as well. Yes, very good indeed. But do tell me what you think. So I think next time we're clearly going to have to do part 2, where I'll be doing the main part of the building, which should be a lot quicker because it's still taking large sections of this and reusing them, albeit with a few changes. I think it's less my own design than all of this was, which does look pleasing actually, because they are different enough and they're different from the original as well. So yeah, I am happy with that, even if it's taken absolutely ages. So yeah, very happy. Roll on part 2. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos, including part 2 of this mini-series. Do also remember to subscribe to my dedicated Brick Haul channel, Brick Haul O'Clock, where we open packages each Wednesday, if you're into that side of the hobby. And if you value this channel, or that one for that matter, then there are many ways in which you can support me. Do check out the links in the description below. And if you want to send something to a future Brick Haul, you can using the usual address. Otherwise, it'll be back to this build next time we're together on this channel, and then hopefully something in the deep sea cabinet as well, because I'm really enjoying that and it's coming on a treat. We've got to get a few more of the constituent parts done, and then we can really make some progress bringing it all together. Lovely. Can't wait. So until all of that, see you. Now, where is Robin? I'm a bit concerned. It's not like him to go missing.